Mark King's a good example. I think he owns 49 businesses in and outside of Keller Williams. Like how the heck could you possibly manage 49 businesses? He doesn't manage them, right? He leads leaders who manage them, right? So where do you fit into that business matters. But guess what? Here's the surprise. It all comes down to the system. When you nail a system in one business, you can expand it to a different industry or to the same industry in the same business because it's repeatable, right?
All right, guys, here we go now. It is time to unlock more doors to deals. We're real estate investors here. We're real estate agents here, and we all have one thing in common. We believe that we can. We can live the life of our purpose. We can create financial freedom. We can build a better life for those that we love, and we can live the life of our dreams. I don't care if you're trying to do your first deal or your 500th this year. You can get to the next level, and we're here to help. Welcome to Doors to Deals. I'm your host and founder, Jim Manning. Today's episode can be found on doorstodeals.com/029, and it features the man, the myth, the legend, Brian Leverett. Brian's a good friend of mine and has a lot of business experience. He's even a top 5% performer on a nationwide level as a team leader over there at Keller Williams. So I absolutely love this episode, and I loved his mindset around systems and the importance of using systems and modeling best business practices. And systems really, if you think about it, are the difference maker in business. Think about it. What's the difference between McDonald's and a small mom and pop restaurant? It's the systems that lead to a very predictable product and result that both the person eating the burger gets and the franchise owner. So taking the time to think through our business, what we want it to be made of and consist of, and what the purpose is of it, and what our strategy is moving forward is so critically important. So before we jump in, here's our review of the week.
This week's iTunes review comes to us from Crazy122, titled Full of Nuggets, 5 stars. Crazy writes, I said for weeks that I didn't have time to listen. Well, remember that story about the guy cutting down the tree who insisted he didn't have time to sharpen his hammer? This podcast is about sharpening your axe. Find the time and you will benefit. Crazy122, thank you for your review. Jim, back to you.
Crazy122. Oh, yes, I remember, my friend, and I appreciate you. I'm not sure how that's your podcast review name, but I know who you are. Absolutely. And you've been with us since the beginning, man. And I feel blessed to have seen you on your journey, starting out as a brand new investor that didn't know anything to kind of growing yourself into this massive success story and closing several deals a month like clockwork, like you're doing. I really consider myself one of the luckiest guys in the world because I get to get up every day and help people like you carve out your dream life and your dream business. Proud's an understatement, my friend, for where you are in your life and where you are in your business. Keep up the amazing work. So, all right, guys, let's get into this. Here's the interview. Okay, guys, so just click the record button. Welcome. We have Brian Leverett on this call. Brian is a good friend of mine, and he's a team leader over at Keller Williams. And I typically pick his brain when it comes to strategic business planning all the time. I'm fortunate to kind of do some weekly calls with him, and I asked him to come on onto this kind of Doors to Deals training because I think that we can't gain enough perspective. I don't think we can gain like when we stop and pause and start thinking about things. That's how you can really move the needle forward. And I'd like to do that at this time. I mean, here we are at the recording. We're a day before Thanksgiving, and it's time to kind of start thinking about what's going on and how to make yourself as successful as you possibly can in 2021. So, Brian, thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate you.
You bet, Jim. It's a privilege to be here, man. I always love working with you and Ryan and Caleb and the team. Love what you guys are doing right now. And let's bring it today, buddy. It's Thanksgiving, man, but 2021's already here. Let's go.
Absolutely. So you get exposed to more agents than investors, but what I've found, so just so you guys know, being that I've been an agent and an investor for over 13 years, that the business is, as far as the principles that you do, are so similar. Like an agent, you're trying to lead generate for a homeowner that's looking to sell a house. An investor, guess what? you're lead generating typically for a homeowner that's wanting to sell their house. Now, what you offer and some of the other different nuances are a little bit different. But when Brian talks about, like when I asked Brian, hey, what do you see successful people doing? And he's exposed to hundreds of different real estate companies doing this. Everything applies, just so you know, even if he uses the word agent, it all still applies to the investors on this that you're listening for your investment business too. So I wanted to make sure that you all knew that. So the first thing that I kind of like to ask you about, Brian, is you're exposed to all of these businesses, and we're trying to think through, okay, what's going to happen next year? How am I going to be the most successful possible? Well, what do you see the people that are really moving the needle for, the people that are really kind of making that life-changing income? What do you see? What commonalities, what principles do you see those business owners doing that you maybe don't see some of the other people that are just kind of trying to get off the ground and not quite get in there?
Sure. So this market was a moment where exposure happens, right? When the shutdown happened and COVID hits and all the things that came with that, we as professionals, whether you're an agent, an investor, a restaurant, a bar, it does not matter. Your business models and your system, your business plan gets called out, right? You get exposed for how good you really are. A shift is always going to expose us. And so what I've found in several market center investors that I coach, agents, I coach a lot of outside real estate business owners, is there's a couple things that remain consistent, and it's where they focus inside their business. Whatever's going on externally in the market is something that we pivot and shift towards by gathering data, analyzing that data, right, Jim? And then we'll pivot to go move into the market of the future, right? But it's all about the perspective they have in their business, what they focus on. And here's what I found to be true. Doesn't matter if you're an investor, a real estate agent, business owner, there's really three key categories to your business. You're going to be generating a lead or a relationship, right? Expanding your network, or you're going to be following up on a lead or a relationship, right? By building that relationship. So lead generation, lead follow-up. And then there's actual real estate business, right? Transaction management or service, right? If you're an investor, Jim, and you have a client that you met at a party one night, you generated a lead, and now you're going to go follow up with that relationship through emails or whatever your system is in hopes to work with that client one day, right? So there's three key categories that all the people I coach that have been successful this year focus on, and that's generating leads, following up with leads, and then what I've called transaction management. But to answer your question specifically, they focus on three pieces of leverage, right? They focus on their systems to make sure they have the best systems possible to generate leads, to follow up with leads, and to service their clients. They have a high standard around their systems. It's not a spur of the moment thing, right? It's a repeatable, sustainable system of service. They have incredible technology, which obviously was a benefit this year. Would you agree? Right? So they have technology that can streamline their systems, make things more efficient, quicker, and more profitable. So they have the best technology to work their systems. And then the third thing, really the magic, is they focus on their people. They make sure they have the best people involved in their business, or if it's just them and their individual, they really focused on personal development to make sure that they were the best version of themselves they can be. And instead of looking at all the other facets of business and external market, I see a really increased focus on those three things right now in productive businesses: your systems, your technology solutions, and your people.
Yeah, I love that. So people that kind of like are, and then like, so if you're talking to like somebody that's newer, kind of just starting to get going, what's the difference? Like, let's talk about somebody that maybe doesn't quite get off the ground. Like, what are they doing that's different?
You mean, so are you asking what's the difference between people who are successful and the ones who are not right now?
Yeah.
Several reasons, obviously. And, everyone has an individual case by case scenario. But if I go into an agent's business that is declining this year and struggling, whatever the reason may be, we're going to find out that the solution to fix that problem is that they're not working a system to generate leads, right? It's consistent through time blocking, or they don't have a good system to follow up with their leads to ensure success, right? They might not have technology that's allowing them to do what they need to do, or it might be a person problem. And if it's just you and you're brand new or you're just not hitting off, and then the problem is with you, right? And that, I don't say that in a bad way. The good news is you get to fix it, right? But there's only 3 areas that we ever look. It's in your systems, how you're running your business or what you're doing day to day, your technology, or your people, and in that order. Right, Jim? So we don't, if a business is not moving forward, we don't go to people first for technology. We actually go to systems. We say, well, what is the business doing day in and day out, and what does that look like? There might be a better system, a better way of doing what you're doing to generate a different result. And so we go to successful people, and when we have a model and a system for what they're doing, we can actually have evidence that there's a better system, and we can plug that in. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah. So let's kind of talk a little bit more about modeling. So kind of explain that a little bit.
Modeling is the quickest way to success, and I would argue not the only way, but long term, definitely the quickest and the easiest. Mark King is a leader in Keller Williams that I work for. I have the privilege to work with, and he works directly with Gary Keller and gets coached by Gary. And so throughout this entire year, I model Mark and Gary's models, right? If you pick up Millionaire Real Estate Agents, an incredible book that will teach you all about systems and models. Here's why that's important. Success leaves clues. Believe it or not, Jim, before us, there were people who have done this, right? There are people who have been successful before us. They've sold houses, they've invested in real estate, they've built businesses before us. And then when we study them and we find out what made them successful, you find a lot of commonality. So instead of reinventing the wheel, I'm going to go find a model that I can follow and make sure that that model is big enough for where I want my business to go. So I rip off and repeat everything I do. I didn't create anything that I'm doing. I may create on top of it, right? I may find something to add to it, but I work 100% inside of models that are already proven.
Yeah, and real estate's been around for a long time. It's been around longer than all of us have been alive, and it's going to be around after we're all gone. Yeah.
Well, let's think about outside of real estate. What do you think makes let's think of Marriott Hotels, just for instance. What do you think makes Marriott Hotels so successful? They're the largest real estate company in the world. They didn't get there through unique business practice, right? They have incredible systems and models. Let's look at McDonald's. Generally, if you buy into a McDonald's franchise, you become an owner and a franchisee. Do you know that every year you get 40% in royalty back to McDonald's Corporation? Did you know that? Do you know why they're willing to pay 40%?
Because it's a repeatable system that they can.
It's a speedy system, right?
ROI on.
Yeah, if you haven't watched that movie, The Founder, I think that's what it's called.
A great movie.
You got to watch it, but it's because of their systems and their models. You're not buying their database of the people through the drive-through. None of that's guaranteed. You're buying their systems and models. So why is modeling important? Jim, if you can build a business that's so powerful and your systems are so secure that you could sell it to someone and get 40% back and not do anything, what would that look like?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Absolutely. Yeah. So, okay. So systems, so when you're looking into 2021, is the first step to just kind of we've kind of been talking about the difference between, success and like getting off the ground. To me, and I'd be interested in your opinion, to me, the first step is to do a reality check and be aware of exactly where you're at. So when you come up with the 2021 goals, you can figure out, okay, do I really need first quarter? Do I need to bang out a better system? I just said bang out. I don't know why. Awkward. Okay.
It wasn't awkward until you called yourself out.
Yeah. Oh well. What can we do? We only live once. So if I got upset about every mistake I made, I wouldn't get up in the morning. Okay. So like, to me, it's like kind of becoming aware of not only where your business is at, but like where you want your life to be. Like what is the ideal perfect business? Okay. And everything that we talk about, there's pros and cons to. Like, if you are a person Like, so Ryan, I think Ryan's on this call kind of like listening in. Ryan Wessels, my business partner, is like designed and made to sling deals, negotiate deals, and kind of like he just loves it, right? And if you love doing that, maybe a solo business is like exactly like, and that's the only thing you love. Like maybe you don't need to build this big corporation that has like a McDonald's type of franchise type of thing, right? Like just becoming aware of exactly what you like to do, and you can craft what your goals are, and you can craft the vision of your business to serve what you also like to do. So that's, to me, kind of the first step, is just becoming aware. Brian, what do you think on that?
I would 100% agree. And that's for anybody on the call, or for anybody who wants to listen to the recording, anything we talk about today in terms of strategy, we've got to have an action plan attached, and then resources. So what you're talking about is getting real and getting right. Understanding, the awareness around yourself inside your business, right? Like, where am I today through an objective lens, right? No emotion, evidence-based, right? Get real, get right, understand where we are today. And a really good way of doing that personally is to take an assessment, right? There's assessments out there online, the DISC assessment, Myers-Briggs, the Keller personality assessment that's used by all the top teams, is finding out where your strengths are and your weaknesses, and understand how that's coming out in your business. And then another good resource for you to do that is study the 6 personal perspectives. Just Google that, look it up. It's a great way to filter yourself inside your business. But Jim, you nailed it. You got to understand and be aware around where you are today inside your business. Right?
Yeah. So, and to bring Ryan back up as an example, Ryan didn't think I'd be talking about him as much. So when we think through what he really likes to do and what's in his unique genius zone, there's certain things that regardless of him, there's certain things that he should probably not ever give up, because it's what he really likes to do. It's what he's passionate about. It's what he wants. Right.
That's right.
So and then he can craft, and him and I being business partners, there's things that I like to do too. And like, you can kind of have your cake and eat it too. Just because somebody else's vision says, hey, well, you should do this thing that you're completely passive, you're not hands off anymore. That fits your vision and what you want first. Okay. Is really all I'm trying to get at. So if you get there and then you get real with where you're at, now you can step up and start to figure out, okay, like how is this business going to serve my life, and what should my goals be for 2021 to be really successful? So I just heard, oh, there's my dad. I'm on a call, Dad.
Yeah, Finley ran off. Is there up and down the street twice? I don't see her.
We'll just get in the car, honk, and like shout for her.
Honk?
Yeah.
Right.
Just shout for her. Apparently my dog ran away. Oh boy. Happy Thanksgiving. To figure that out. Oh man, Brian, just help me out. I'm gonna need an assist here. I have ADD. I have no idea what I'm just talking about.
The first part's the hardest part. No one wants to do it. No one likes to do the self-work, right? We like to look at, we love planning business. I tell you what, the most attended class of the year, almost any organization, is business planning, because it's the end of the year. We want to reimagine what happens next year. Like, first of all, that's a made up thing. Years, that's a time thing. I'm like, what happens on January 1st? Nothing. It's the same day, right? It's January 1st. It's not like something actually resets. I know we have finite measurements for our business goals, but we all get excited about planning our business, because those are activities and ideas and things. We love talking about the market. Right? And then I have certain agents and professionals who will ask me, hey, given the current market and not knowing what's happening in 2021, how are you going to adjust your goals? I don't set my goals based on the market. I set my goals based on where am I currently, right? And I go personal first. Where am I currently in my skills, in my trade, in my craft, my enjoyment of the job? How are we doing, right? As you speak to Ryan, his strengths and how you use them. And then I go professional. And I always look at the same categories every year, right? I look at the exact same 8 categories every single year to plan my business, so I don't have to reinvent the wheel. And I use evidence from my track record to help me project what my 2021 business is going to look like.
All right, so let's dive into the 8 categories you're looking at.
Sure.
So tell us more about that.
So I'm going to give it to you from the perspective of a market center leader, a real estate office leader. And then anyone on the call can, first of all, just go to page 71 of the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. And it breaks out 8 key categories that millionaire real estate agents look at every single year, right? And you can change any of the goal categories, like from listings to investors or from listings to client, right? I replace the word listing with agent, right? If I want to recruit an agent. So just know that as a resource, page 71 in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. 8 key categories for me are, first is lead generation, right? I'm going to look at my lead generation systems and models. I'm going to inspect the performance of those as they sit today, which means we're looking at our lead sources, where the business is coming from, all the activities attached to that, whether it's from me or my team, right? And we inspect that model through an objective lens to grade it, to say, let's see where this is, and then where it needs to go for 2021. The next category for an agent would be listings. For a team leader or a recruiter, it would be agents. For you, it might be investor clients, right? For a restaurant, it would just be customers, right? And it's your system around customers, right? It's a category of customers in terms of service, right? And your standards. Contracts written and contracts closed are 2 key categories in real estate that we measure in terms of goal setting. How many contracts we need to write and how many need to close, right? Money is the 5th category that we look at. And that's where we dive into our profit and loss, right? And we start to inspect the budget model of our business. Where's the money going? What do our profit margins look like? We compare that against a model, right? To see, is it the best it can be? And we start to see where we can make adjustments there. The 6th category is people. And we have an assessment for that, right? We do an entire team assessment using behavioral assessments and things like that to see where our people are. Do we need to add to the organization? Do we need to increase opportunities, right? And we assess our people. The last 2 are systems, right? Systems and standards, and then personal education. Personal education is a huge thing that's overlooked inside of our goals. A lot of us don't set goals for how we're going to educate ourselves personally throughout the year. I can tell you right now, that's a mistake.
So here's something interesting that I learned a year or 2 ago. I think I'm a big Brendon Burchard fan, for any of you that have checked him out. All the way to the point where some of my team members were talking about how I had a man crush on him. But anyway, I'm pretty sure I learned this from him. He said like what the difference between ultra performers and like really good performers is that they get really purposeful on their education. What a really good performer will do is they'll be interested in learning, and they'll just a friend refers a book and they say, oh, great. And then they latch onto that and they start reading it. What an elite performer does is they look through their lead gen, their customers, their contracts written, the profit and loss, their people and personnel development. They say, hey, what is the most important thing for us to move the company forward? And then they get really intentional and they say, okay, what's the 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, whatever it's going to take, most important books that have education on that topic that I can then use and implement. So right. So what Brian's talking about is actually it's not just learning to learn, it's having an intention behind, I really need to get out how to set up a better system because I want better customer service, or I really want to set up a better lead generation. So system. So like what education out there can I read of people that have already figured this out that are then now sharing that I can learn and start implementing and growing at a higher level a whole lot quicker. Absolutely. I love that.
Around that, Jim. And by the way, I misspoke. The 9 ways a millionaire think. That's page 71. Page 109 in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent is where you'll find the 8 key categories of goal setting. But page 71 is still brilliant. It's the 9 ways millionaires think. The way you think is the way that your business is going to behave. So it's super important. Brendon Burchard, by the way, is awesome. He's got incredible content. And you see a ton of continuity in his material, Gary Keller's material, and a lot of other leaders and coaches, right? There's systems and models out there that we study from productive people, successful people.
Yeah, when you do this long enough, you start to realize being an entrepreneur is an entrepreneur. Like whether it's one of my attorney friends that's an immigration attorney trying to pick up clients, or it's the same. It's generating the lead. It's following up. It's just a different widget. So
you got to ask questions. You have to ask childlike questions of your business. I mean, there could be 100 people on the call today, and they're all at a different spot in their business. So there's never going to be one set plan or way to view your business or your life, because everyone's at a different spot. And so it comes down to the questions that you ask of yourself and the questions that you ask of the critical pieces of your business. I call them vital signs, right? If you don't know what the priority is in your business and what needs to move forward, the one thing that needs to move forward so that everything else becomes unnecessary or easy, you're just going to move through the year, right? Looking like this, attaching yourself to whatever you feel like in the moment may help or may not help, and you never have a clear path. I don't know about you, Jim, but when I don't have a path, right, with parameters and resources and structure to help me get to where I'm going, I'm not going to get there. I'm not going to get there. If I do, it's going to look pretty ugly, right?
Well, and not only that, but like if you're not focused on it and you're just staying busy, well, you might work and take 3 steps forward on the shiny object that pops up. And then you get distracted by the next shiny object, the next idea that comes up. And then you start working on that. And before you know it, you have 10 projects that are halfway done, and you didn't get any results from any of them, right?
We're doing it the hard way. We do it the hard way. We're humans, and we like to be creative and figure it out. And we don't like, we're independent contractors, some of us. We like our freedom, right? We don't like to follow a calendar. That's who we are. The truth is committing to a path and a time block with resources and structure and systems is the only way to ensure sustainable success, right? Long-term success. And we just tend to do things the hard way. We don't want to do the upfront work, right? The self-work, the business work. And sometimes we pay for it. Lack of clarity throughout the year in a business is a very challenging mindset to have, especially when the market and the pandemic or something like a pandemic happens. Now you're really in a toss-up, Jim. Now you're really reactive. I heard a million times over the course of the last 6 months, gosh, I'm zoomed out. I'm so zoomed out. You ever hear that?
I have, yeah.
You know what's funny about that? I go, well, before the pandemic, you never got roomed out. You didn't walk into random rooms where people were training on material and having conversations that didn't apply to you. And so people are getting zoomed out because they're logging into things because they have access to it. They don't have a plan to stick to that's intentional. So they're going into any mastermind, conversation, business planning clinic that pops up that they feel might be good, because we're in a toss-up now, right, Jim? So, it's just funny. Zoom is just a virtual room. So don't get roomed out. You never walk into an office and just walk into random rooms and get trained on things that don't matter to you.
Yeah, and you're not going to get, so certainty is one of the basic human needs. And I think what's happening with some of these people is they're trying to grab onto some sort of certainty with it. So I'm just going to go to this next training, or but you get out of that purposeful, intentional mindset that we were talking about. And so you try and grab onto certainty. And for me, what works here's the deal. I am in a completely uncertain time right now, and because of my family with Drew being in the NICU, right? It's been an emotional. We went from thinking the baby was maybe gonna die because Kelly started bleeding, to Kelly's on bed rest, to we're having the kid, to no, we're not having the kid now, she's on bed rest again, to we're going home, to an hour or two later now that we're having the kid and it's going to be premature and in the NICU for a couple months. So the uncertainty within that environment's been absolutely crazy, right? And the only way I can grab certainty back in this uncertain thing, is I have no control over this, is that I've found personally what works for me is God, is my faith. Okay. And then just letting things sit and getting back into purpose and intentional actions. I was worried about this was such a perspective thing for me, because I had about 5 different business things that I was worried about before this happened. And I go through all of this. And then, now that I'm kind of through the other end, I look at it and I'm like, why was I even worried about these things? These things don't matter. They're not that important. It's like, come on, it's not that big of a deal. Like, this isn't that big of a deal. So we get so busy and so caught up on all this stuff when, if you can just take the time to get crystal clear on what the purpose is for your life, what the purpose is for your business to help you with that purpose for your life, and then draw up a plan where everything fits into that vision. Now you have something to go by when a pandemic hits, when uncertainty comes through, you have something to fall back on and to know, okay, well, this is my purpose. This is what I'm going after. And I can say no to anything that doesn't fit in that and just kind of rock and roll. It's simple, but it's not easy. It's one of the hardest things that I've done and I had to deal with in my life. But it's something that I think people get caught up on. Brian, what do you think on that?
Well, I think it's a powerful story, Jim. It's there's certain things that I say time and time again when in conversations and coaching. And by the way, coaching is one of the greatest resources to help people identify what they need to do right now. Right? These conversations get really overwhelming. People attend these classes, they'll go to business planning clinics and trainings, and there's so much that you can apply to your business, but there's only a couple things that you should apply. And it's a really small list. It's a very, very small list. And the bigger your business gets, the more that you have to look at, but the more people you have to help you look at that. So your story is an incredible example of something unintended happening, right? Which validates the famous quote, I think it's from James Clear, who said this from Atomic Habits, is we do not rise to the level of our goals. We always fall to the level of our systems, right? If you hit a goal in 2021, it's not because you elevated to the goal. You ended up falling under the system you had in place, and the system that you have and the model that you have was written to hit the goal. You're always going to fall to the system you have in place, right? And then for you, that really matters, right? The systems that we put into someone's business, and we keep using that word system. What I mean is the way that you generate leads, the way you go about that, the way that you handle your finances, your budget model, right? The way that you build your team, your systems, they're not only built to grow your business, they insulate you from your business collapsing down on top of you when something happens, right? You're in the hospital, you're out, you're dealing with family things. What systems do you have in place that can insulate your business while you're out taking care of family things? If you don't have those, we're having a different conversation today, Jim, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I'm truly blessed with Ryan and the team. And I mean, sometimes they're better off when I go away for a little bit, to be honest.
Doesn't that make you wonder? I'll go out for a week on vacation. I come back and the production's up from the team and I'm like, wait a second. I'm not nearly as talented as I think I am. The team is exactly where they need to be. But yes, there's a million things you can look at. And so the people on the call today or anyone who watches this recording, we need tangibles today, right? And a system's a big word. The first place I would start is to get real and get right, which means take a real look at you inside your business. And are you happy? Where are you at, right? What are your strengths? You have to do that self-work. I don't care if you're on the call right now and you net $1 million a year through your investment company or your real estate company, or whatever it is. You maybe even more than someone who isn't that successful need to do the self-work, right? Because you're leading people, you're succeeding through others. There's never a moment where personal education and development doesn't come first. Your business will grow to the extent that you do. So the self-work matters. And I preach on that a lot. And, some people love it. And maybe some other people, want to be more strategic and get into numbers and data, which I'm huge on. But your mindset around how you treat numbers and data in your business matters. You have to understand where you need to go. You're the lid of your company. It's only going to grow to the extent that you do. Right? So it's
I love that. Yeah.
Get real upright.
Yeah. So get real and get right. Okay. And then just really understand where you need to be, where you need to grow. And so let's say, okay, like you get that, you have the vision. Okay. My vision is I want to do 50 deals next year. I'm used to doing 35. Okay. So like, what is the what's the next step to go about that? What do you think? Hey guys, for those of you that are local to St. Louis, I wanted to make sure you knew about an amazing resource that we have to help do some extra deals. You can email our team at deals@3doors.com. And just so you know, we do deals with other investors all the time. Like, it's been hundreds and hundreds over the years, and we've averaged over 100 deals with other investors per year for over the last 5 years. We can straight up buy the deal if you have a wholesale under contract that you want to sell. If you need funding to finance a flip, or like you're doing a BRRRR strategy, we have funding available for you. If you're trying to wholesale a deal, we're doing JV wholesale deals with other wholesalers that, quite frankly, some of the deals we're putting together for a beginner or an intermediate investor, they'd probably be walking away from because we have systems and processes, and we have buyers in place that are paying top dollar for these properties. So make sure you use this resource. And the best way to get and the easiest way is to just send us an email, deals@3doors.com. All right, back to the episode. So let's say, okay, like you get that, you have the vision. Okay, my vision is I want to do 50 deals next year. I'm used to doing 35. Okay, so like, what is the what's the next step to go about that? What do you think?
The next step is you go look at your systems, your tech, and your people, and you find a model that does 50 deals a year, right? You go, okay, what is the system that gets 50 deals a year? And once you identify that, right, you go, okay, what was the technology used to get there? And how many people did it take? Did it take one person, 2 people, 3 people? What's the recommended model? What's the best way of doing this, right? It's already established. And so if it's not in a book that's proven, like the Millionaire Real Estate Agent or the Millionaire Real Estate Investor, it's in a person. So you have to go find the person, right? Or a group of people who have sold 50 units before and find out how they got there. Don't try to recreate the wheel. And then you go look at how your business got to 35 units, right? How did I get to 35 units? Where did my clientele come? My lead generation. How did I generate the leads? Right? How do I do more of that? How do I follow up with my leads and my relationships, right? To get to 35, what would it take to get to 50? You ask questions like that constantly around your business, and you find powerful answers. You're inspecting it objectively, right? To understand where it needs to go. It's so much simpler than we want to make it. And then client service, right? What does it take to service 50 clients versus 35? Can I do that? Do I have the time? Where's the model for that? Right? And you go find it. And then you can repeat the model. It's that simple. If I want to take a real estate office from doing $2 billion in sales a year to $4 billion, I go find the office that's done $4 billion. I inspect their systems. I find if they're valid, and I can just go copycat. It really is that easy.
So I would, for any of y'all that are listening to this call, live here, ask any questions as you go. So some of this stuff, Brian and I have been doing this for a long time. What he's saying is 100% correct, 100% what you should do. If there's any reservations or any questions on it, let us know. Sometimes it's hard for us because we've been doing this for a while to kind of know if you're following all of it. But I can't reiterate enough how important and what he said and kind of going through that it is.
Jim, there's one book as a resource that I give to people no matter where they are in their business or life, right? They can help with this conversation. And that's The One Thing. And there's several amazing books out there that can support that book. But it doesn't matter if you're doing $500 million in real estate sales or $5 million. To make sense of today's conversation, the One Thing book is the greatest resource I've been able to find to help you clarify what you need to look at and when, and how to pursue on your 2021 goals, right? I haven't found a better piece of literature out there, or a better study than The One Thing.
Yeah, it's a fantastic book, and it's not even that long. It's like 100 pages or something, isn't it?
And it's super interactive. It's a great read, and then it's got resource. The reason I start there is because it's a hub and spoke model. As you move through the book, the resources attached you can go find to help you set goals, help you create plans and strategies. It has all of that behind it, right? So when you start there, right, it'll help you find what your one thing is that you need to take action on today. It'll help you find the right mindset. It'll explore this whole conversation in depth, and then it'll give you a path on where to go next in terms of resources. What's the next step, right? I would start there if no matter who's on the call.
Yeah, and getting that clarity, is just so important. Like when you know exactly what you want, it's not even that big of a deal to execute and get it. Like it's when you're fuzzy and you're not sure, do I do this or do that? Yeah, and then you get on a fence and you start to procrastinate, and then nothing's getting done, and then you get all this negative energy. Whereas if you know, like Randall Brandt is in our network, and something I have always admired him for is he has always been so crystal clear that I do tax credit projects. I try and make $100,000 a deal when I include the profit and the tax credits. That's what I do. And he says no to literally everything else. And if he has another deal that looks good, okay, well, maybe he sends it over to a friend or something. He refers it out. So like maybe he can still make a little bit of money, but he's so hyper focused on exactly what he wants and what his business is. And every time a small business niches and narrows its focus and is super clear on what it wants, it grows and it benefits and it gets better and it's more profitable, you name it. And for people that are wired like I am, that like are kind of a little bit all over the place with ideas, like it's really difficult, something that I really struggle with. And it's so dang powerful. Like he just has a super simple business model and he does really, really well. I've had people in mastermind groups that I meet that talk about, oh, well, I'm coaching and I'm doing flips, and they rattle off like 10, 15 different businesses. And then I just think through it and I'm like, okay, well, this person's not doing that well. Everything that they say sounds so amazing. It sounds so cool that they're doing all these cool things. And I'm like, oh, they're probably not doing that well. They're a little too spread out.
Yeah. You know, I love what you just said there. Here's what I found to be true. Multiple business owners, I'm a multiple business owner and I know several, and there's a way to do it and a way not to do it. Right. What you find in multiple business owners is that they're doing the same few things, the 3 to 6 things that they did in their initial business in all of the other businesses, the ones who had the highest level of success. They found what their strength is, what works for them. They found that there's a demand for something else outside of their business, right? That those strengths can be applied to as fiduciary strengths, meaning I can get paid a lot of money for that. And that's where the role plays in that business. And it's usually very limited, right? And a lot of the fiduciaries in the ability to generate leads, follow up with leads, and to lead a team, right? And so multiple business, Mark King's a good example. I think he owns 49 businesses in and outside of Keller Williams. How the heck could you possibly manage 49 businesses? He doesn't manage them, right? He leads leaders who manage them, right? So where do you fit into that business matters. But guess what? Here's the surprise. It all comes down to the system. When you nail a system in one business, you can expand it to a different industry or to the same industry in the same business because it's repeatable, right? It's repeatable. So finding out what works for you, like you said with Ryan, is important. Just take a look at your calendar. Right now, anybody on the call or listens to the recording, look at your calendar. That's who you are. We may call ourselves agents or investors or team leaders and business owners, but if my calendar has me doing things other than that, then that's who I am. If your calendar doesn't have anything on it, then you have to say, who am I? Your calendar will tell you who you are, right? And then the challenges you said, Jim, about staying focused and identifying these things, that's where environment kicks in. We know, studies show this to be true, that environment accounts for 80% of our success. It attributes to 80% of our success. That's a pretty large majority of our success that we should consider, is the environment that we're in, our physical environment, our friends. Show me your friends, I'll show you your future, right? Our resources. What does our environment look like in life, and does that need to change? Right? It's responsible for 80% of why you're successful. And so you want to make sure it's the most conducive environment possible. Do you have coaching? Do you have friends who are doing the same things you're doing or better? Is it conducive to who you want to become and what you need your business to do? If not, you need to make a change.
Yeah, it's completely correct and accurate what you're saying. I don't know if I even understand why, other than just, there's the old adage, your net worth ends up being the average of the 5 people you hang out with the most. I guess it's just part of being human is that when we have developed friends and we start to think along the same wavelengths and think the same way, and everything starts with how we think.
It does. When we're clouding the conversation, it just means that we haven't asked enough questions of ourselves and where we are. That's all it means. Powerful questions lead to powerful answers. If I ask you a $1,000 question, I'll get back $1,000 answer. If I want to make $1 million a year, I need to ask questions that are worth $1 million, right? I need to ask more valuable questions of myself and more valuable questions of my business, and meet that where it is. And that's why we get cloudy in these things. And people think that we're looking at it on 30,000 foot view, but the truth is clarity is power. And we need to ask better questions of ourselves, of our environment, and where our business currently is, so that we can address any changes that be made. And guess what? There's always a change that needs to be made, because you're either growing or you're dying. You can't stay where you are. And that's why I recommend the one thing is the first go-to resource, because it asks powerful questions of yourself, of your business, and the environment that you're in. Let that sit in, let it marinate, understand it, right? Come to terms with it. Yeah, clarity.
The quality of the question ends up being the quality of your life. I think that's a saying that I've heard before too. So what happens when people get stuck on things? The best way to get out of them is through asking questions, and maybe you need a coach to ask you those questions. What do you do personally, when you get stuck on things? How do you adjust or kind of get through the problem?
It's the same 3 questions just about every time. It's, what am I currently doing? So I've got goals outside of business, like with family, fitness, is a really big part of my life, doing, physical challenges, races, events, stuff like that. And then business, no matter where the me being stuck falls, it's what am I currently doing that if I stopped doing, no one would notice, right? In terms of business, what am I currently doing that if I stopped doing, no one would notice? And what I'm really asking there is, where am I spending time and what activities am I partaking in that are generating no results? I could stop today and the world wouldn't know, right? Then the second question is, what am I currently doing that's working well that I can do more of, right? Where are my strengths falling? Where am I having success? How is that happening? And how can I double down on that, right? And the third question is, what can I start doing that if I did do it, everyone would notice and it would drastically change my blank? What can I start doing that by doing it, it would drastically change my business, my fitness, my family, right? And that's where you go look for models. You go look for success. But those 3 questions you can constantly ask of yourself and your business. It doesn't have to be once a year. Matter of fact, if you do it once a year, this conversation is probably not serving you very well, right? It's a continuous research of path of self-mastery. It's questioning yourself in the moment, right? And how you develop.
Yeah, and it's not easy. I think it takes a lot of strength. Being vulnerable. I don't know. I struggle with that word, vulnerable.
Sure do.
And getting real with yourself, it takes so much strength to do that, and to admit, man, I'm really weak here. Man, I really need to improve here. Or man, I'm suck so much here. In my case, there's so many things I suck at that it's like I just need the right person to fill that gap. Like you would not want to hire me, Brian Leverett, as your transaction coordinator. I would be the world's transaction coordinator. But there's other people that are made for that and enjoy that. And like, that's that's why it's like a beautiful thing to like how we're all wired different. We can kind of come together and help each other out as well. So I love that. So like just getting back, if you guys feel stuck on anything and not sure, asking yourself questions. And one of the things too, guys, so like I'll admit this right now. So we're working through some of our processes to introduce the three doors to new people, and like our sales funnel. And there's a couple different options. And the way my brain works, I'm ping-ponging between 10 different things, and I'm thinking through it. And I'm like, man, I don't know the answer to this. I don't know the best way to introduce this incredible thing to people. I'm not sure. So what I had to do is I had to like put my ego aside and say, well, who do I know that's really good at this? And I have a buddy who is just Jim Hacking's his name. I really probably need to get him on this, even though he's an immigration attorney. The guy is a marketing, like just genius. So I called him this morning and I said, Jim, honestly, dude, I'm stuck on this. I don't know the best way to do it. I have a team member that also doesn't know the best way to do it. I was hoping he knew. Can you help? And that really was difficult for me to do that because I don't want to ask for help. I want to be the guy that knows everything. But my options are I can spend another 6 months to a year trying to figure it out on my own and go through trial and error, or I can start figuring out, okay, who knows how to do this that can help solve this problem. And Jim I'm fortunate enough, he said, hey, let's spend an hour on it next week. All I had to do was ask, and like people are willing to help, but like I had to admit I had the problem that I don't know the right answer to it. And now I need to find the model. And in this case, I'm not sure on the models because I'm not even that comfortable with my marketing knowledge on some of the sales funnel stuff. Because I've tried stuff for multiple years before and don't ever seem to get the right traction. So I don't think I have the answer. I think I need to find the right person that can then show me the system and show me what to do. So in this case, I need to actually find the right person to help out with this. And it hurts, man. I mean, for me to admit that and to kind of like, it feels like I'm throwing in the white towel a little bit, but I'm really not. What I'm really doing is just trying to move things forward faster for everybody. So,
well, vulnerability is one of the strongest characters of a really strong leader, because vulnerability requires you to ask tough questions, right, and ask for help. Great leaders ask for a lot of help. Great leaders show a lot of vulnerability, and so that's a super important piece to it moving forward. And so the self-work matters. If you're not capable at the moment of asking yourself the questions you need, coaching is the option. Find a resource for someone to be able to ask you the right questions to find the right answers to where you need to go. One thing we know to be true is that logic makes us think and emotions make us act. Right? We can study systems and models all day long. You can come to the office and we can write the most intricate, incredible business plan for you ever, right? Logically. But if emotionally you are not tied to it, if emotionally you've not self-discovered who you are, who you need to be, and what you need to do inside of that business plan, and you're not tied to it emotionally, it's not going to be successful long term. You may have you may be a huge talent listening today. You have a natural ceiling of achievement that's super high, and you can just go out there and slang a bunch of real estate or do a bunch of deals, and that's awesome, right? But true success and fulfillment, and long-term success and fulfillment, sustainable, is going to happen, right? When you ask those personal questions first and you understand your own vulnerabilities, right? That's where you're going to get that. When you ask great questions of yourself. And by the way, if you have a high natural ceiling of achievement, you will bump up against it one day. You will hit a ceiling, right? So start asking the questions before you hit that. Don't make it so painful on yourself, right? Ask them now. Find someone to help you, self-discover it. It is that big of a deal.
Yeah, and when you get there, it's just who has the answer to this, or what system, what model can help me kind of get to the next level.
Yeah, you got to start with the questions. And so this is a strategic business planning podcast. where the resources are out there. You can pick up this book right here, which is a proven system and model that's allowed me to build multiple businesses over the course of the last 5 years with several incredible partners inside Keller Williams. But it's not a Keller Williams book. It's just proven systems and models for agents of all kinds of real estate companies, right? So there's amazing resources out there for someone to go to if they're already feel like they're dialed in to go move things forward. You know, strategic business planning has the word strategic in it, right? You want to be strategic in what you're doing. That's going to require systems, technology, and the best people possible. It starts with you. It starts with you. We don't go look at our team and say, are they the best they can be? It's the when you go assess your people part of your business, it starts with you. Where am I and where do I need to be? Am I the lid of my organization? That's a scary realization, by the way, when you're stuck. When you think it's because you don't have the right admin or the right buyer's agent or the right team or the right marketing specialist. And then you realize, oh, it's just me. I'm stuck. The leader hasn't grown to a place to where he can succeed through others. And I'm the lid of my company. That's a funny realization. That's fun, right?
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah. I mean, I've been there, and it's just constant, like the journey of being an entrepreneur, like whether you're just starting out, like brand new, haven't done a deal yet, is painful in a way. Like you have to get uncomfortable and do something you're not comfortable with doing to get to the next level and to grow. Growth is challenging. Think about like the rain and how like cold and wet and icky it can be, but that's how trees grow. That's how we live, right? Is through that stickiness. And I can tell you, I like to tell you that challenge and that uncomfortness changes, but it just evolves into a little bit trickier of a problem if you want to continue to grow.
Terms of that right now.
And so I'm still there. Like
opportunity where you have we're finished moment. That's not real in life, like on a scale. Like you've never arrived, right? So a lot of us look for that. Like, how long do I have to do this before I can just go? That never happens. That does not happen, right?
It doesn't. And Brian said this earlier. Let's recap it. Like you're either as a business and as a person, you're either growing or you're dying. The first sign of something that's dying is when you start to stagnate and go low. That's the first sign. So like that uncomfortness, you just have to get used to being uncomfortable. And that's still the same. Like I encounter some of these problems. I'm not exactly sure how to solve them. Well, it's a different problem than when I first started out. I know how to do a few hundred deals a year, whatever it is now, but
let's talk about being uncomfortable, because when I coach people on that topic, it doesn't always hit where I want it to hit, because people don't like being uncomfortable in the terms of growth, right? That sounds like something that's not fun, but you get to choose your uncomfortable, or you get to choose your hard. Growth is hard. Hey, selling 50 houses versus selling 35, that's hard. You know what else is hard? The financial challenges that might come with selling 35 houses, depending on where your life is, or it going backwards. Try going from 35 units to 20 units. That's hard. You know what else is hard? Marriage, working and compromising and building a relationship. Marriage is really hard. Guess what? Divorce is also very hard. Choose your heart, right? On every side of it, it's going to be challenging and uncomfortable. Right? If you're on a trajectory of growth going that way, there's hard things ahead. Guess what? It's hard that way too. It's very hard. In your fitness, if you weigh 200 pounds and 250 pounds, you want to go to 200. That's very hard, right? Or if you're overweight, to get into shape, that's hard. Staying overweight and staying out of shape or getting more out of shape, that's also very, very difficult. That's hard on you. Choose your hard. Doing the self-work is challenging. Finding a coach, finding an environment requires work. That is hard. I don't want to do that. I'm getting off this podcast right now. That sounds hard. So is not understanding what it is that you need to be doing in order to having clarity around what your strengths are to build a fulfilling life. That's hard. Not knowing is hard. Choose your hard. Come to terms with it.
So like if there's one thing that somebody can do that's kind of like listening in on this to really kind of create the best possible next year for themselves, what would the one thing be? What do you think?
That's why I recommended the book.
Okay.
Because it asks incredible questions of where you're at right now, no matter what. And it'll create a path depending on where you are through questioning. I would start there. Coaching is super important to help us find out where we need to go. I don't know any successful people that have been successful long-term and at scale that aren't supported by a coach, right? Who can help them identify these things. So coaching is super important. That comes in many different forms. It could be a mentor. It could be someone in your company. It can be a coaching company. There's so many of them out there. I get coached by MAPS Coaching. It's been tremendous. I've 10x my income once I started coaching, and not just because of coaching, right? But I made 10 times more money within 3 years of being coached because I was able to self-discover the things that I needed to do, right? In terms of priority, it just helped create a filter for me. It was a resource. It was an aid. It allowed me to self-discover a lot of things. So without that, I'm showing up to podcasts like these and I'm trying to go it alone, trying to figure it all out on my own. It's just really overwhelming. And so a coach is really helping me get through those things. There's several companies out there. So if I got off this call, I pick up the book, The One Thing, no matter where I'm at, and just start asking questions that the book has in there. It'll lead you to the next thing.
Love it. All right, guys. Well, does anybody have any other questions, anything like that? I'm not surprised, Brian. Not surprised we just started rolling.
These are conversations I have every day, right? This is my everyday. You know, I look at my calendar and I'm a coach and a consultant. There's about 8 to 10 consultations a day. And so that's who I am. And when I'm looking to get better, I'm stuck. I do everything we just talked about on this call, right? I don't have a lot figured out. So I look at models, I ask powerful questions, I get coaching, I get real, I get right. I make sure my environment's conducive to who I need to become. My friends are my future, right? If you're not rolling with me, if you're not trying to build a big life and create opportunities for other people, and you're not trying to do that, I'm not rolling with you. It's not that I don't have a problem with you, but I'm not rolling with you. I want to be part of a group that wants to go innovate and create change for people and make things better. I want to have those conversations. So I'm gonna find those friends. And then I'm gonna find the best model and system to do that. So I don't have to reinvent the wheel because I know that I'm gonna fall to that. I'm not gonna rise to my goals. Ambition's great, right? There's a difference between ambition and drive, Jim. People on the call can want to make $100,000 or want to make $1 million a year or want to become a massive investor, you know, and they'll say, yeah, I want a portfolio of 50 properties. That's something with ambition, right? The person with drive is the person that says, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make $1 million. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to have an investment portfolio of 50 properties. Ambition and drive is what we need to adopt. Action is what we need to adopt. So pick up the one thing, follow the book, ask great questions of yourself, and let the path take you to where you need to go. But have some drive behind it. Stop wanting things and start doing it.
I don't have my mic today, but pretend mic drop.
There's just a lot of anxiety and want. Want equals lack, right? It's weird to sit around wanting things all day. That to me, that creates a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of power. You cannot imagine the power in just the start. Just start. Don't get off the call and go on to the next thing. If you don't know exactly where you need to be right now and have clarity around what it is you do day to day, pick up the one thing. Just start, right? There's so much power in the start. Stop wanting things and planning and thinking about things. You got to take action. Go find out where you are.
Yeah, I mean, on the investor side of things, a couple weeks ago, we were talking about 16 offers, gets you 3 negotiations, gets you 1 deal. You know, so like just if there's one thing to do, it's, well, you need to find 16 homeowners to write offers on, you know. And I love, so that you mentioned Atomic Habits before. And I love, there's one thing that I'd like to kind of bring back up. And he talks about breaking it down into little itty bitty steps.
Yep.
And he says, like, he's coached people before where they want to get to the gym. He says, well, just put your shoes on and drive to the gym. You don't even have to go in. just make sure every day you drive to the gym for like a week or whatever. Then the next step, just go there. You don't even have to lift a weight. Just go there.
That's
and
right.
then inevitably what happens is when you're at the gym, you're probably going to lift a weight because you're there. So he's like, just break it down into little itty bitty attainable steps. And the act of like, even if it's like, man, life happened, like life happened to me recently. Life happened, but I need to be the person that gets to the gym every day. Drive there, show up, and don't even lift a weight. Just leave 2 minutes later. Don't let time be an excuse. You don't have time to do this. Stay in that habit. So like if a good example of that is if cold calling's your lead generation strategy for finding deals, well, life happens, but you view yourself, I lead generate every day. I cold call every day. Pick up the phone, dial a number, and while it's ringing, hang up. Like at least get that activity, like you did it for that day.
Yeah.
So that, that's like a little bit of a something from the book that
Right.
Atomic Habit book.
It's an incredible book, and he might be the right now. His perspective on it's great. And you know what a string of habits are, right, Jim? You know what habits are once they're established?
Your destiny.
It's a system. It's a system.
Your system. Yeah.
Right. It's how you got to the gym. It's how you got in shape. It's the little systems. Right. It's the little things that become the whole of your success.
I love it, dude. Thank you. Appreciate you coming by, man.
It's good to see you.
Guys, for this particular show, go to doorstodeals.com/029. Again, that's doorstodeals.com/029. Go out, live your purpose, and above all else, go after your dreams. Till next time. Thanks for tuning into this show. For more episodes and resources that will unlock Doors to Deals, check out our website, doorstodeals.com.